Okay, according to indicators, we are live on a fine Tuesday evening in Melbourne City. Finally got out of our heat wave, lasted like 4 days of over 35 Celsius. And it didn't get below 25 at night the whole time. So it was like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. From Thursday, the temperature hit 25 degrees. It did not drop below 25 degrees until late Sunday night. So, yes, just right at the literal end of summer, a fun little heat wave. Hello, Luke and Mystery 9. Good to see you. As we settle in for the evening and wonder what fun and frivolity awaits us this evening. And hello, Musical Aviator. And Mitchell, hello to you. And Tendai, hello to you too. Nice to see everyone dropping in. Marcy, hi from Wisconsin, where it's -4 Fahrenheit. Wonder what that is in real temperatures. Musical Aviator, it is good that you did not die of heat at the air show. It must have been pretty warm though. Hello, Brett, how are you? I've got a temperature converter here because I'm really not very good at, ooh, wait a sec, what's that? That's -20 Celsius. Fuck me sideways. Holy cow. And hello to Justin in Canberra. Yeah, look, I don't know if Siri knows how to do that, but I have a little converter. What is -4 Fahrenheit in Celsius?
The answer is -20 degrees Celsius.
She does do it. And Mimsy's come in to say hello. Yes, she wants the attention. She was actually, when I came in to set up, she was sitting on my chair and took some convincing to get off it. So, but now she can settle in and get lots of attention, which is what she likes. So that's okay. Brett, you were at an air show as well. God, it must have been bloody hot though. I don't know if they provide you any shelter at these air shows. I think I've not had actual sunstroke for a very long time. I don't get sunburnt very often because I don't go into the sun very often. Hey, Chronic, how you doing? Oh my God, in fact, the last bit of me that got sunburnt might have been my feet. Even though I thought I'd put sunscreen on my feet, because it's happened before, you know, put sunscreen all over and then you're either barefoot or in thongs or sandals or something, and your feet get sunburnt, and that really sucks when you have to put on shoes and socks. Very painful. Yeah, I think last time I got sunburnt, my feet were sunburnt. Even though I thought I'd put sunscreen on them, I must have applied it badly. But sunstroke, where you get really sick from it, I don't think that's happened since I was a teenager. I remember I had a sister who lived in Queensland and went up for a visit with my younger brothers, and we spent a weekend camping on an island called Bribie Island. There's a couple islands off the coast of Brisbane where people sometimes go. Stradbroke Island is larger and has more tourists, and Bribie Island, and we were on Bribie Island, and it never occurred to me that this was a problem, but there was basically no fucking shelter, and so spent the whole time in the subtropical sun. I don't think I was even sunburnt because I had sunscreen on, but I got sunstroke just from being out in the heat and getting dehydrated without realizing it. And we were camping and going to sleep in that evening. The sunstroke started to kick in, and I was running a fever and hallucinating. I was borderline delirious. I do remember an old car with vinyl seats, and I do remember getting into the car and just kind of hugging the vinyl, which felt cold. But I was way out of it. Oh, and I thought, because we were on a beach. Oh, and this beach had this thing, whether someone had dug it out and stayed there, or if the tide scooped it out, I never realized. But the beach was kind of like a lagoon, like a bit of the beach had been dug out, and when the high tide came in, it filled it with water. So, and in the middle of the day, this water was actually quite warm because it would get heated up by the sun. There was a lot of it. It was, and at its deepest, it was probably more than 6 feet deep. So I had to like swim across. And I thought, I'm just going to go in that because it wasn't the open surf. So I didn't think I'd drown, but I'd cool down by getting in the water and go down. And like the only light's like moonlight, starlight. There's enough to sort of see, but not seeing any detail, right? And I got down to the water, and I'd been in this body of water during the day, right? I'd walked through it, I'd swum through it, I'd played in a bit, because you sort of go beach, this pool of water, more beach than the surf. And I like put my foot in this water that I'd been in during the day, put my foot in the water, and there was this noise like something was in the water. I couldn't see anything, and I thought, fuck me, I was in this and there was nothing in it. What? And because I knew I was delirious, I didn't know if I was imagining it. And I tried it again, put a foot in the water, and there was this pish, 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 pish. And I thought, what's going on? And I grabbed a handful of sand and threw it in the water, and it's like the sound as the sand hit the water. And then after that, there was I'm going, what the fuck? What the fuck is going on here? And I wasn't really sure if I was imagining it because I was a bit delirious, but it was freaking me out. And because I couldn't see whatever the fuck it was, but there was obviously something there. I couldn't bring myself to go in the water, which was a shame because it probably would have really relieved the sunstroke. But anyway, the next day, when I'd recovered a bit from the sunstroke, I went back down to the beach. Nice daylight. I thought, I got to look in this water. What the fuck was it? And I looked really closely. And when you look closely, this pond, lagoon, whatever you want to fucking call it, was full of whitebait, little almost translucent white fish. And they were everywhere. They were only about this big, but they were everywhere. And that's what I'd heard during the day, because I hadn't been looking for them. I didn't see them. But at night, when it was all relatively quiet, I heard them when I went into the water, and they all swam away because there's so goddamn many of them. They made a noise, and that was one of the weirder nights of my life. Sunstroke on a beach. Good God. So music over to getting the halal snack pack. Nice. HSP, for those who don't know, a lovely bit of yeah, it's Australian cuisine. It's born out of Middle Eastern cuisine. Some Australians at some point decided kebabs were too healthy. So we made them much less healthy. Hey, AgroPixie, how's it going? I'm a big fan of the HSP, Halal Snack Pack. Those who don't know, it's kebab meat, whether that's lamb or chicken or doner kebab or a mix thereof. Now, a kebab, has an illusion of healthiness. For those who don't know what it is, it's normally the meat in a bit of Lebanese bread or a wrap of some type, and you have lettuce and tomato, and some garlic sauce, probably. Someone decided that was too healthy. So what a halal snack pack is it's like a layer of chips, a layer of cheese, a layer of the meat, and then sauces on the top. And it's so nice. It is so yummy. It's clearly terribly unhealthy. And they tend to give you huge serves of it. Like seriously, if you're a place that does a large HSP, that could basically serve 4 people. And I was going to say, some people eat a whole one. I've been known to eat one that could easily have fed 4 people because I was hungry and I'm a fat bastard. But yes, the HSP, what a delicacy that is. So much greasy goodness. Love the HSP. We saw a Greek place doing their version of it, and that was like gyros meat, lamb, with tzatziki instead of the garlic sauce. But yes, it's very Tendai is very big with stoners and drunks. Stoners any old time they're stoned and have got severe munchies. But same as kebabs were a late night drunk food, the HSP is drunk food. Oh yeah, Brett, a large one. Again, look, large means different things in different shops. I've ordered a large at some places and felt a bit ripped off. But fuck me, I got one once. It was like $20 for large, and the tray was about this big and this deep. It was so much. Oh yeah, chronic. The kebab, yes, is usually there's I guess what I'm talking about, that's doner kebab. The kebab is like on a skewer with cube meat and vegetable, like capsicum or onion in the interspersing things. Yeah, that's also called a kebab here. Guess what I'm talking about is a doner kebab. Uh, and yeah, it's marinated meat. You get those weird things in the kebab shops. It's like a cylinder of meat that rotates in front of a heat unit, and they slice off thin strips of it. Oh my god, I have such a weakness for it, especially when it's crispy, like the meat, whether it be doner kebab, lamb, or chicken. When it's crispy, like it's cooked and it's just this side of burnt. Oh man, that's when I really like it. But yes, it's like the HSP is almost like Australian trying to compete with Scots for unhealthy takeaway. Oh yeah, gyros. That the Greeks call it gyros, chronic. Um, and there's minor differences between the Greek version and the Lebanese version, Middle Eastern version. Middle East version is the halal version, so you get halal snack pack. Justin, how's my diet going? I am about 8 kilos down since the start of the year, which I'm pretty happy with. Seeing new numbers on the old scales is always good. So yeah, if I stay on target, I'll be a good weight by the middle of winter. Brett, 7 kilograms in a month. Are you exercising? Because I'm not exercising. You like Middle Eastern food? I like Middle Eastern food. I like quite a range of cuisines, but I do like Middle Eastern food. I like Italian. like Indian, not super spicy. I'm very much, white person version of Indian food, very mild. And I like quite a lot of Asian cuisines as well. Everything from Japanese and the different sorts of Chinese food down to stuff more from Southeast Asia, like Thai and Indonesian food. But yeah, Brett. I'm doing the packaged meals, the light and easy thing, which definitely means less fat and sugar. And I try to really, really minimize the junk, which I'm finding easier than I thought it would. I haven't cut out eating junk altogether, like sometimes I have ice cream uh, after dinner or something, but I definitely have really cut down the amount of junk I eat. So yeah, Luke running for buses. Yeah, yeah, little bit of walking to and from the transport. Yes, Marcy, you're in the sticks, Mexican food. See, if you were in the sticks in Australia, you wouldn't get Mexican food. That's not really an isolated thing. That's like fish and chips in the sticks in Australia, and pizza. There'd be a pizza shop, even in quite small towns. There's often a Chinese place, although they're often not run by Chinese people, and the food's dodgy as fuck if they're not. There'll be like a pizza place, and there'll be a fish and chip burger place. It can be hard to get stuff that's even mildly exotic in the country towns. Tendai, you craving a burrito? Oh man, there's a couple of good Mexican places around here. Again, I'm always mildly surprised when I go to a Mexican place in Melbourne, and it's run by actual Mexican people who've come out here. And there's one down near Elstonwick Station. It's just called Mexico City. Doesn't look like much. Looks very unassuming. The food's really nice, and that's actually run by Mexican people. It's near a cinema I go to quite regularly. Date night with Mrs. Angry. We'll often do dinner and a movie. And sometimes we go to a Mexican place, and there's an Italian place, and there's a Polish place, actually. After the Tears, it's called. The food's pretty good there. They do great drinks. They have really good cocktails. And being Polish, if you like vodka, I think they've got like 100 different sorts of vodka there. A lot of them, like they've got like 50 different brands, but also they've got a lot of house made flavored ones. I think they're house made. I don't know if they've got, but they've got like 100 different vodkas on the menu. And I'm not that much of a vodka drinker, but they are. I do like their cocktails. That's a good night out for me. Dinner, cocktails, and a movie. I quite like that. Raiders, Lonely Planet for Desert. Not sure what we're talking about there. Oh yeah, Brett. The small towns that have fish and chip shop that is also a pizza shop and also a burger place can be good, can be dodgy. But yeah, it wasn't until like I moved to the coastal cities like Sydney and Melbourne, where the seafood's fresh. You start to think, God, the fish they sell at the fish and chip shops in places in the country, like where I grew up, it's probably really dodgy, probably really high. It's probably all frozen, very poor quality. Whereas you get really high quality seafood in the coastal cities. Quite fond of it. Like if you get like calamari rings in a country town, it's going to be shit. But there are a couple of places I know around Melbourne. When you get calamari from them, it's really good, really good. So I I mentioned that sometimes the Chinese restaurant in country towns can be dodgy and because my brother was the cook in a Chinese restaurant in Katoomba, I think, and he just told me how dodgy the food was. But yes, Raiders Daily Planet. That's the name of a brothel. But when you say Daily Planet for dessert, is that a euphemism, Raiders? Marcy probably never eaten fresh fish enough. Yeah, when you live in the regional areas, it's going to be frozen. And I didn't really realize that growing up in the country that was shitty quality. It's then when you go somewhere that's got good quality. I think same as Italian, like you go to a country town. Sometimes, like I went to college in a country town called Bathurst, which is west of Sydney. It's a couple hours away from where I grew up. It's basically halfway between where I grew up in Sydney. My hometown was about 900 kilometres from Sydney, and Bathurst is probably more than halfway. Bathurst is actually probably 2/3 of the way to Sydney. It's just the other side of the mountains from Sydney, so it's a couple hundred kilometres west of Sydney. And there was an Italian restaurant there called the Galloping Grape that was actually run by Italian migrants and was renowned as being very good. When I say renowned, it was the place, it was the neutral territory where the New South Wales mafia bosses would meet when they had to have meetings. They would actually go to the Galloping Grape in Bathurst. The ones who all ended up getting named in royal commissions in the 90s, in the 70s and 80s, they would actually meet to have dinner in the Galloping Grape in Bathurst. And yes, Brett, known for the motor racing. It's this hilarious thing. This country town somehow convinced, I think it was the state government, to pay to basically make a racetrack on. There's a hill in the town called Mount Panorama. People actually live up there, and there was a road go around, and they got it all upgraded to be a racetrack. They have car racing and motorcycle racing. Wild. It was always, God, it was dodgy as fuck the weekends the car races were on there. Because holy shit, car racing attracts fuckwits. So bike races had the bad reputation, for that whole outlaw biker thing. But they basically, the bikies hardly caused any trouble in town. On the mountain, on the campground, they would often get into massive conflict with the cops. But when they were in town, they almost never caused problems. But for the fucking car races, you felt so unsafe in the town when the car races were on because all these petrolhead fuckwits would be around, speeding through the streets and whatnot, and harassing people. It was really weird. I was walking with a female friend and a car of hoons went past and leaning out the window going, I thought, okay, they're catcalling my friend, fucking troglodytes. Then later on, I was walking by myself and a car went past and they all leaned out the window and went, so either they just yell stupid noises at anyone or it was me they fancied. Who could blame them? Look, you had the V8 supercars. Yeah, I bet that's a bit stressful as well in Adelaide. You just go over, you're dating a lady who races 2-litre sedans. That would be zippy. 2-litre race cars would be very zippy. See, Bathurst was famous for the V8 supercars, Holdens versus Fords. That was the big thing. V8 supercars. So fucking huge things. 2-litre engines. I think the smallest in the V8 were like 5-litre engines, and they make so much fucking noise. Mind you, probably not as much. Now in Melbourne, we've got the Formula One thing, and I used to live only like a suburb away from the racetrack for the F1, and the whole time that week, like there was a couple of days of practice, then there were the time trials, and then the actual race on Sunday. So that whole week, you just hear the F1 cars. Even though I was a suburb away, there'd be this noise like very angry mosquitoes, just because. And of course, the closer you are to the track, the louder it was. But a suburb away, it was quite clear. You could hear this. Now, 2 years ago, I moved a couple more suburbs further out. So I'm like, I don't know, 10 or 15 kilometers away. I'll try and get Lake Albert. Where's that? Albert Park Lake. That's what I want. And if I wanted directions, yeah, it's a 15-minute car drive. It's like 10 kilometers away. So I now moved. So I'm 10 kilometers away. I didn't think I'd hear it. Still do. It's not as loud, obviously, but I can still hear it. They're so fucking loud from 10 kilometers away. And not 10 kilometers of open plain, 10 kilometers of suburb. So there's a whole bunch of buildings and trees and stuff to absorb sound, and 10 kilometers away, you can still hear them. It's just much more of this background, but it's amazing that I can still hear them. Ah, Brett, there's a speedway near your parents' place, Murray Bridge. Yeah, there's a couple of big racetracks around. There's some suburban sprint car tracks in Melbourne too. I don't know where they are, but F1s I think are probably the loudest. They're very, very, very loud. Yes. He's glad there in Broady. All you hear is the Vicpol helicopters hovering. Yeah. When I lived in East St Kilda, we used to on the regular, not every night, but semi-regularly have the Vicpol helicopters hovering. And more than once, they're actually looking for someone in my neighbourhood. And the yard suddenly got bright because their spotlight was sweeping over. That's disconcerting. When you know they're actually searching for someone in your area, go and make sure all the doors and windows are locked at that point. Yes. Victory 9, I imagine the F1 is very, 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 very bad for the environment. Motorsports generally, just burning a fuck ton of high octane fuel for no fucking reason. Motorsports generally very environmentally unfriendly. But oh my god, that just made me think. I don't know how many of you are political tragics like I am. So how much you're following US politics, but the new young congressperson Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is just the obsession of conservatives. They're so freaked out by her. They're so obsessed by her because she openly calls herself a democratic socialist and she's really popular. So she freaks the fuck out of the establishment, and they're obsessed with her. And just this week they go, oh, she says she's environmentally friendly, but we caught her driving a car that has really poor mileage. It's a gas guzzler. She said it was her grandmother's minivan, which gets like 17 miles to the gallon or something. But it's just like they're so fucking obsessed. They go, she drives a car. It uses fuel. And yet she says she wants to save the environment. Hypocrite much? It's so weird how obsessed they are with her. Luke, what peace meeting? You asked what about peace meeting thing? I don't know what peace meeting thing. Oh, yeah, no, Raiders ASE for the win. Yes, Mystery 9. Yeah, Marcy, she scares the shit out of them. They are terrified that she represents their worst nightmare. She preaches socialistic sort of policies, and she's young, female and are not white. She is their nightmare embodied. And they're fucking obsessed by her. It's like really weird. It's like if you don't want someone to get traction, don't obsess over them. Yeah, Raiders, wasn't she good with that Cohen hearing? She just asked those really pointed questions like, would we learn something valuable if we got a hold of Trump's financial records? And Cohen goes, yes, yes, you would. Mitch, would I buy an electric car like the Tesla? They're a very expensive car and they don't have a very good infrastructure in Australia. And while you go like, oh, you know, good for the environment not using fossil fuels, but just in terms of resources used, I would have considerably less environmental footprint if I bought a small second-hand car. I actually think Teslas are really cool cars. So from an aesthetic point of view, I think they're a pretty cool car. If I really wanted to, when I got a car to minimize my environmental footprint, I wouldn't buy a new car. I'd get a small second-hand car. Yeah, Raiders, AOC really honed in on financial fraud and Trump. Like, I reckon that boy's sweating these days. He's in trouble. Luke, you thought the talk was more than I don't know, because I honestly don't know specifically what you're talking about. So, Agro Pixie 96 laser, very environmental choice. I have to admit, counting Mrs. Angry's car, I've bought 3 cars in the last 15 years, 10, 15 years. I know I had a Hyundai Elantra that I kept for over 10 years. And 2-3 years ago, I traded that in and I bought another new car. So even though I said if I was really obsessed about environmental impact, I'd get a second-hand car. I didn't. I got a new car. I get a little hatchback Holden Cruise turbo. Oh, it's really zippy. A small car with a turbo is like really fast. Accelerate, really catch people by surprise at the lights because they're just looking at this little hatchback and it just zips off because it's turbocharged. I agree, Pixie. You got to the laziest, smaller. Well, you like Mrs. Angry's car. She's got a little Hyundai XL. That's a neat little car. So, yeah, in the last 10, 15 years, I've bought those 3 cars. 2 for me, 1 for Mrs. Angry. But yes. Right, is he? Trump was sweating through his. See, but that was weird. Like, he did that weird, rambling, incoherent speech for over 2 hours, something like 2.5 hours. It was like, that was, even by Trump's weird standards, it was a really weird speech. I love it when I saw that picture of him hugging the flag with that stupid grin and the crowd loved it. To me, I just looked at that and that's Trump going, you people are a pack of fucking rubes and I can play you like a violin. You're all suckers and are absolutely susceptible to manipulation. And here, I'll prove it. I'll do something really fucking stupid, but pandering to you, and you fucking rubes will eat it up. So I love saying to Trump supporters, well, I might have a very low opinion of you, and I do. I think you're morons. I think you're cretins. But Trump has a lower opinion of you. Trump is the one playing you, and he just continues to do the dumbest shit and you continue to lap it up. No one has more contempt for Trump supporters than Trump does. Good Lord. Henry, good evening to you, my friend. Yeah, Mitchell, look, oh, man, I tell you what, the dream future is a home with a good solar system and battery storage, and yeah, an electric car that you charge off your own home solar system, and you know, your solar in Australia generates more than you use, and you can feed that back into the grid and actually get a credit. I swear, the worst thing was when the various governments decided to privatize energy supply. That was just fucking ridiculous. It's energy should still be state owned, and then the equivalent of a tax break, the state should have been subsidizing solar everywhere. So then it wouldn't matter that people weren't using the energy and feeding it back into the grid. I mean, fuck me, the privatization of energy was ridiculous. Yeah, you're right, Raiders. Rupert does love Trump supporters. Although Rupert got a rude shock when, in the lead up to this election, the opposition leader, Bill Shorten, said he wasn't going to take a meeting with Rupert Murdoch, which is apparently something every Prime Minister and opposition leader has done for decades. And Bill Shorten said, I just, because the idea is you explain your agenda to Rupert in the hope it's favourably viewed in his media empire. And Shorten didn't say anything rude. He just said, I'm not going to do it. And, ooh, that's going to be a bee in Roop's bonnet right there. It's kind of like the New South Wales opposition leader, again, from the Labor Party, lead up to the state election there, getting interviewed by Alan Jones. And he told Jones, you and your cronies on the Sydney Cricket Ground Trust full of shit, and I'm going to sack you all if I win government, which is pretty wild. So Henry, sorry, you saw a lifted Ford Ranger with the Confederate flag and Trump stickers on it, and you wanted to run him off the road. Look, I understand the sentiment, and obviously you didn't, because it's not a productive thing to do. It's just tempting. It's a thought. It's a thought that you can't get out of your head. And I agree, like, who is it? Alyssa Milano has been criticised by some people for calling the red MAGA hat the new Klan hood. Oh, that's terrible. No, it's not. That's completely fucking legitimate thing to say. That sort of aggressive endorsement of Trump is an aggressive endorsement of all his racism, all his misogyny, all his cruelty, all his homophobia and transphobia. Is like, fuck anyone who does that, basically. I do remember there was I found it really funny. Like, there's a little cottage industry of right-wing fuckheads who make attack videos about me on YouTube, and I largely ignore them. There's one in particular, an Australian guy who's God, he's obsessed with me. It's got to be sexual, the level of obsession he has. And one of the attacks he made on me, the video was called something like, oh, if you're a Trump supporter, AngryAussie thinks you're a racist Nazi. And like, normally he, like all of these attackers, he deliberately misrepresents my views and deliberately misrepresents what I said. But when I heard about this one, he said, oh yeah, AngryAussie says if you're a Trump supporter, you're racist Nazi garbage. And I went, yep, I do actually think that. That is actually accurate for once. Why don't you come up here and say hello to everyone? You're staying just out of camera shot. No? Okay, whatever. Raiders. Did I see Tony Abbott campaigning in the Sydney traffic? I saw that he was campaigning. I saw a couple of people shared a thing that Tony wanted to recruit 20 interns, which means unpaid volunteers, to work on his re-election campaign to find out, find out how politics works. And he's in extreme danger of all the volunteers actually being people who hate him, who want to subvert him. That could backfire. That could be very funny. Henry, yes, you're right about the right-wing Facebook groups and right-wingers generally being pedo apologists saying, oh, no, Pell being convicted of child rape. No, that can't be real. And I've been getting a few of them. It's just like, no, fuck you, you horrible people. Oh, yeah, Henry, I did see the Milo question on Q&A. Yeah, that was a little weird thing. I noticed, I just think Jordan Peterson's a bit of a joke. I noticed a bunch of people getting excited because Peterson has arranged a public debate with what's the guy's name? Zizek. I think is he a university professor? I know he's a Marxist. And certainly people who aren't Peterson fans think this Zizek guy is going to smash him in a debate. I don't really know. I don't really know the Zizek guy, and I'm not a Marxist, so I'm not that enthused. But yeah, I don't know. It's I did like the memes about it. My favorite was probably, it was just a Sesame Street picture. It was Kermit the Frog with Oscar the Grouch saying that was Peterson and Zizek. Peterson because he sounds like Kermit, and Zizek's a bit scruffy looking, so Oscar was a good match for him. Mr. 09, who's he? When you're saying he complains about cultural Marxist, he's anti-feminist. Mitchell, Tommy Robinson got banned from Facebook. Oh, yes. Oh, and also Tommy Robinson bashed on the front door of someone who's been active against him in the UK, and the cops got called. And apparently Tommy Robinson was live streaming on someone else's Facebook page or Twitter account, and was calling this guy pedo, and this guy's got a recording of it and says he's going to launch a lawsuit against Tommy Robinson for slander, which would be fucking awesome. Right, Mr. 09, yes, I knew that about Jordan Peterson, yes. It's weird because if Peterson stayed in his area of expertise, the philosophy side, he'd probably do quite well. But he's kind of obsessed with his politics, and it's not so much that he pushes his political views. It's that he's a fucking weasel about it. It's like, well, dude, you're preaching this MRA anti-feminist bullshit. He goes, no, I'm not. He goes, you fucking are. And I don't watch Q&A, an Australian TV show, because it normally frustrates me so much. There's a risk I'll throw something at my own TV, and I don't want to do that, so I just don't watch it. But I did watch a bit of Kev Logan live streaming with Christy Winters, where they were reviewing this Q&A appearance, and they just highlighted a few things, like, and it was really simple, where Jordan Peterson is just straight up lying. Like, if you were being incredibly polite to him, you would say he was being disingenuous, but he's lying. Like he's going about, oh, you say all men are toxic. And I go, and the woman on the panel says, that isn't what toxic masculinity means. And he knows that's not what toxic masculinity means. She said, it's a certain range of behaviors that have been regarded as traditionally masculine things that are actually destructive and harmful to both men and women. And it's not masculinity that's toxic, it's certain behaviors that's toxic. And he's going, no, that's not it. It's like he's just straight up fucking lying. And this is the thing. And this is like with the right wing in Australia defending convicted child rapist, Cardinal George Pell. I didn't actually read the article, but it was quite nicely summed up. There's a headline that said, the right don't get to preach to us ever again. You look, and this is around the world, the people who have self-appointed themselves the public face of conservatism, the right, whether they're actual politicians or just public figures, they have nothing to offer. When they don't argue, they don't present cases, they lie. By default, they say stuff that's demonstrably untrue, that they obviously know isn't true, but perpetuating talking points and demonizing their opponents is more important than actually having anything valid to say. And there is no point engaging. Like, you get the right talking about, oh, I'm only doing this to protect the children, doing this to protect the children, blah, 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 blah. And then when there is a convicted child sex abuser who's a senior figure in a group in which child sex abuse is rampant, and this person is known to have spent decades protecting predators in his ranks and demonizing the victims of predators, they're falling over themselves to defend him, and they're just fucking garbage. All right, so the question there, Safa asking, does Australia have the highest toxic masculinity in the world? I don't know how you'd measure that, but there is a bunch of bullshit with blokiness here that definitely falls into the toxic masculinity barrel. I think America's worse. As an outside observer, I think America's worse. But yeah, this is generally problem. And yeah, my biggest problem is I don't like how toxic masculinity affects women, but it's killing men. It's simply killing men. The worst things that affect men is these ridiculous ideas that men aren't allowed to show sensitivity. Men aren't allowed to show emotion. Men don't ask for help because men are strong and indomitable and stoic and blah, 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 blah. And that leads to the quite terrifying levels of suicide among men, a whole bunch of other health problems, and really destructive behavior in relationships. It's bullshit what's forced on men. It's so harmful, not just psychologically, it's physically harmful. The ridiculous bullshit that is forced on men literally kills them in so many ways. It's absolutely ridiculous. His stuff is saying toxic masculinity is worse than the bush. Yeah, look, it is, those negative attitudes do seem to be stronger in provincial areas. In Australia, we say the bush, the rural areas of the US as well. But I think basically in provincial areas, kind of regressive attitudes tend to hold more sway. And that's like toxic masculinity and misogyny and racism, other forms of bigotry. They all seem to be worse in provincial areas. But yeah, Henry, the farmers in the bush, the suicide rate on farms is terrible. And there's this mentality that men don't ask for help. Men don't admit vulnerability. Men don't show any form of emotion because that's weakness. I like that aggro pixie. Your housemate Paul works with a bloke who lets his daughter paint his nails, and all the other blokes join in defending him. Someone has to go to. Yeah, I mean, the just pushing men into tiny little boxes is terrible for everyone. Sarpa, I think it's right in general that country areas are less progressive. Obviously, there are people in cities who be quite bigoted, and not to fall into the trap, often there are people who talk the talk like I'm woke, and they've actually got really quite regressive ingrained attitudes that they don't let out that often, but really they're not very good. And there are wonderful progressive people in country areas as well. But I agree, having grown up in the country, in broad terms, you definitely get more regressive attitudes in country areas. Yeah, not good, not good. But, you know, we try to get, hey, speaking about regressive stuff and stupid misogyny, Captain Marvel opens this week with Brie Larson. And they're freaky goddamn MRA types, anti-feminist types, who obsessively hate on any strong female character. Speaking about toxic masculinity, that's fucked up. And they got so upset when people were pointing out to the Rotten Tomatoes site, you've got 1 million negative reviews, public reviews for Captain Marvel when it's a movie no one's seen. Your system is broken. You need to look at that. And when Rotten Tomatoes said, "Oh, yeah, okay, we're never going to let people post reviews for films that haven't been released yet," and the MRA's got so up in arms. Oh, free speech! It's like they regard incredibly aggressive, bigoted lies as free speech, which is fucking ridiculous. Death Fodor, easy to fall into trap, uneducated means regressive. That is a really good point. And as you say, there are definitely lots of intellectuals who have backward views. Like I said, and you definitely got to be conscious of the fake progressives. They're the people who talk the talk and do not walk the walk. Like intersectionality is a big word. It's highlighted that, the dominant voices in the progressive world are definitely white people. The dominant voices in feminism are white women, and intersectionality is something to take into account. And if you don't know what that is, I'd suggest doing like a Google search. You'll get a better description than I'll give you. I was talking about Captain Marvel. I'm going this Saturday. It's this Saturday game night with Mrs. Angry. Going to Gold Class. For those who don't know, Gold Class is a really expensive way to see a movie, but you get these huge plush chairs and you can order this super good food that they bring into you during the movie. And yeah, it's a bit of a treat. Feels like you're really being spoiled. So I'm going to see Captain Marvel. I agree, Safa. Shazam looks funny. Really groundbreaking for a DC film to be funny. I am pretty keen to see Shazam. And hello, nobody. Oh, yeah, Tendai, you can recline the seats. The seats are recliners with footrests. They're awesome. Wow. the fridge thing just kicked in, and probably hearing it. Yeah, I just saw there's another trailer for Shazam just came out. Looks good. I'm quite hopeful. Yeah, you can't really tell from a trailer, but I'm quite hopeful Shazam will be good because DC have not had a particularly good run with their movies. I haven't seen Aquaman. A lot of people liked Aquaman. The Aussie James Wan directed. Go you good thing. He's a Melbourne boy, I think. Started out working with Lee Wannell on the Saw films. But yeah. Does Miss Voxation, you don't have to go out to the cinema because you've got your own VR cinema with surround sound and a comfy seat. Yeah. I just do it as treats, like day night, and because tend not to go to the big mainstream cinemas. Like Gold Class is a special one, you know, it's depending on the size of the cinema, it's like 20 to 40 seats and these luxury chairs. And if you're not going to that, usually go to one of the independent cinemas. There's a couple of good independent cinemas near me. Marcy, you think Aquaman made the $1 billion from Thirst? Well, Jason Momoa is a bit of no, it's Momoa. Momoa? I think I was getting confused with the Disney film Moana. It's Jason Momoa, isn't it? Nobody, honestly, a superhero film was predictable. Look, yeah, I enjoy them as spectacle, but there's yeah, there's often not a lot of depth to the superhero films, the comic book films. Marcy, he's a snack. He's man, he's a banquet. He's not a snack. He's huge. He's a mountain to climb, that man. I love the meme that goes around. There's a picture of him, and I think there's like 4 guys around him who are his bodyguards, I guess, and they all appear to only be half his size, and the caption applied to it is usually along the lines of Jason Momoa's bodyguards look like mini bosses that you have to defeat before you face him, the final boss. And but again, practical people say he doesn't have bodyguards because they can beat people up better than he can. He has bodyguards just to be between him and people who want to cause trouble. Suffer. Yeah, it's ironic. Momoa was Aquaman, as he also did Stargate Atlantis. He's got an affinity with water. Because I know when he was first cast as Aquaman, there was some press conference I saw a bit of. Instead of being Aquaman, and one person at the press conference said to him, like, "Oh, can you actually swim that well, or do they use a stunt man or effects when you're doing the swimming?" And he just looked at the guy and went, "Dude, I'm Hawaiian." Yes, he grew up around water. He can swim. Is that like you've been on a tram where the floor was sticky? Yeah, sticky floors are a bit of it. And yeah, it always feels wrong wherever you are. If the floor's sticky, it just seems really wrong. Nobody. You think there's a girlfriend who was taking you to predictable films. You're feeling better about it. Good. I'm glad you're feeling better about it, man. Oh, yeah, Hellboy could be good. I saw the trailers for the new Hellboy. Big challenge for the guy taking on the role of Hellboy because Ron Perlman was such a good Hellboy. The movies weren't fantastic, but Ron Perlman was a very good Hellboy. Misfoxication. Warm toilets here. I would tell you this much. I reckon communal toilets in the workplace are the worst invention in history. People say open plan offices were a bad idea. Fucking communal toilets are terrible. I hate it. The stinkiness and the gross sounds from other people. Just the worst. Absolute worst. I hate it. Marcy, you're a bit behind on your movies. Just saw Bohemian Rhapsody. I enjoyed Bohemian Rhapsody too. Now, a lot of people were very up and armed. Like, my sister is like the biggest Queen fan in the world. And I think she hated it. And it's because one of the big reason a lot of people dislike Bohemian Rhapsody is because it's all lies. It is basically all lies. Every major plot point's made up. The timeline is bullshit. Like, it's absolutely weird. It's basically every major plot point in the movie is complete bullshit. I don't know why they chose to do that. I really enjoyed the movie, probably because getting swept along by the Queen music. Yeah, they decided on what narrative they wanted to tell, and they did that. Truth be damned. Jace Fertile, yes. Mimsy's making occasional appearances. She gets bored and wanders off, has a sleep, comes back. But she likes attention. She likes being with people. Oh, yeah. You're going to headbutt me if I stop scratching her now. I saw that, Mitchell. News story. The last Blockbuster video rental store in Australia closed down. You know, I think I would be tempted, like if I won Lotto and just wanted something to do, I might open a video rental store because hardly anyone would come into it. And I just fucking have weird movies in there. And I just have them screening. And I just spend my days watching movies and having conversations about movies with people that came in. Because you wouldn't make money from it, but you know, it could be a fun way to meet people if you won Lotto. You don't tell the people you won Lotto, and that's why you've got it. But you'd be like the last video rental store in Australia. Yes, misfoxication, that could work. Near a cinema like the Astor, rent out cult classics and sell related merch. Yeah, I just think it could be a fun way to meet people and have good conversations, and have an excuse to just watch movies all day. Yeah, that's still around, Luke. Those ATM style rental things you get at supermarkets and whatnot, they're still around. And of course, digital is what really took the bite out of it. Marcy, did they get the essence of Queen in Bohemian Rhapsody? Well, here's the key things that upset Queen fans. The thing about Freddie joining the band, like him happening to be in the audience the night their lead singer left and him just announcing, I can sing, that's bullshit. He had known the band for years and had in fact floated several times with them the idea of him joining them as the singer. So that was complete bullshit. And you know, all the tension in the band, like particularly because Freddie wanted to do a solo thing. Well, other band members actually had solo releases prior to Freddie, and no one in the band had a problem with Freddie doing a solo release. And basically every bit of tension, they had to be like fights between band members, that didn't really happen in real life. The decadent, debauched parties, completely true. And then the wrap up, the ridiculousness of putting him, finding that guy that he ended up being with for years, reconciling with his family, and telling the band he had AIDS all on the day they were doing Live Aid. That's not real. His AIDS diagnosis didn't come for at least a year or two after the Live Aid concert. Oh, and also the other big one that bugged people. It's like they'd suggested Freddie and the band had been estranged for years, and when they were rehearsing for Live Aid, there was the way, oh, will Freddie's voice come good? He's worried about. They had actually done a live tour only 6 months before Live Aid, so they'd been playing together quite regularly, quite recently before Live Aid. So basically, every major plot point in the movie Bohemian Rhapsody is complete bullshit. Oh, Justin, yours was the school that owned the Astor. Yeah, they copped a lot of flack because they wanted to stop it being a cinema. But yeah, they ended up on selling it. Yeah. Sci-fi part fiction apparently is like all fiction. Even stuff like when they want to release Bohemian Rhapsody as a single, they're having an argument with a record company executive. That guy doesn't exist. That didn't happen. There wasn't someone from the record company telling them not to release Bohemian Rhapsody. That's fiction. But man, I saw Bohemian Rhapsody in gold class, and they have really good sound, and you're quite close to a big screen. It was great. Particularly, I mean, the almost perfect reproduction of the Live Aid performance was fucking great in a gold class cinema. It was really good. Marcy, why would they do that? I don't know. Because apparently Queen were involved in the making of the film. I don't know how involved, but I remember reading a thing that Rami Malek actually had to audition for Queen. How stressful would that be? It's one thing to do your normal casting routines towards film studio people, but to actually have to perform as Freddie Mercury for Queen, how fucking stressful would that be? Oh my God, that freaks me out just thinking about it. Jim, how you doing, buddy? I'm glad you've got your full birth here in your username, Jim, 1988, and not just 88. In the early days of YouTube, a couple of people who I became friends with who were born in 1988 had just 88 in their username. And of course, 88, or more particularly 1488, but sometimes just 88, is a Nazi signifier because H is the 8th letter of the alphabet. So 88 is HH, Heil Hitler. So I used to have jokes at my friends' expense saying they were Nazis because they had 88 in their username. Am I going to do a cocktail loop? That's a good question, to which the answer I think is yes. Have a look at my Dan Murphy's cocktail guide. It's a classic sidecar, one of my favorites. Adonis, that has sherry. I don't have sherry. Elderflower. Prosecco, I'm going to do that. A Sunset Paradiso. Vodka. Limoncello. I don't have limoncello. Aperol. I don't really like the sound. I don't really want to do one with juice in it. I love the name of this one. The P.S. I Love You. Has Irish cream, dark rum, amaretto, coffee liqueur. Maybe I should just do a desserty one because I've got chocolate vodka that I made. And some Advocaat. Makes for a good desserty type of drink. It's a pina colada, white rum, pineapple. Oh, I can make a version of a pina colada because I've got... No, that's tequila. I think I did that with. I got the tequila I dissolved the rock candy in. That today's photo, what time it is? Just after 9 p.m. here. The Parasol, the Pina Colada, the Hotel Nacional. Rum, brandy, pineapple juice, lime juice. You'd make one of them. I've got a nice pineapple coconut juice drink. Like pina coladas getting clear. Megaleech, how's it going, buddy? Marcy, there are lots of sake-based cocktails. I am not really into. I don't have any sake. Not really into sake though. Maybe I should get a little bottle of it. Try some sake cocktails. Tequila honeysuckle, tequila honey syrup, lime juice. Look at that, Rosita. Tequila vermouth. Oh, a bitter orange. Oh, that sounds interesting. Okay, I could make that. That sounds like an interesting one that I've never made. A Rosita. Sposado tequila. Oh, what I might do, because I've got some tequila that's flavored. I should label these because I forget which is which. I'm not always that good at smelling, but that's smoky. That's tequila. See, my red tequila, that's actually, I put some rock candy in that they called, it was actually a vegan rock candy, but they called it lemon chicken because it had some vegan chicken stock, like some vegan herbs and stock that taste like chicken. And the rock candy actually did taste a bit like rotisserie chicken, honestly. But so I could that tequila, and I've got some vermouth. I've got my special vermouth actually. I could do that, and I've got a bit of aperitivos and not bitters. What's this? It's my lime bitters. Got lime bitters and I might do lime bitters. Yeah, I've never made one of these, so I'm going to try this. So I have to get some variety. I've got some things I've got to get. Get my cocktail shaker. This and this. Use my tiki glass, my big cup glass tiki glass. Cocktail shaker. Got the tequila. Got to get. What am I looking for? Aperol. Aperol. And this, my absinthe infused vermouth. And some bitters. I'll put some lime bitters in. Need to put a bit of ice baby. I know. I'll put my big old cube of ice in here. Got one big ice cube left in this tray. And a little bit of ice left from my Pepsi that I'll put in here. So, all right. So we'll do our cocktail making now. Okay. So how much? What is tequila? Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Put tequila in. Shazam! A little bit of vermouth. Absinthe, vermouth à la absinthe. Put that in. I'll make it a little bit different. How's it going? A little bit of the Aperol. Remember, just a little bit. Bitter. Bitter aperitif. Some bitters. My lime bitters. I had to crack up. One of my Twitter's friends saying they're at a bar that was trying too hard because they had 6 different sorts of bitters behind the bar, And to which I had to sort of shamefacedly say, I have more than 6 sorted bitters at home. Belinda, you think I should scull it? Give it a bit shaky. Says to put a lemon twist to garnish. I don't need a garnish. I'm not that fussy. This will be interesting because like this is literally the first time I've made this one. It's a nice rosy colour. Tequila. One does not scull cocktails, Belinda. Nice sort of orangey. You actually got it. Looks really dirty on the screen. I assure you, if that looks like dishwashing liquid to you, or dishwashing water, it's actually a much more appealing sort of rosy orange colour to me. I'm not sure. Oh man, that's not bad. I like, to me, a good cocktail has a couple of flavors in it. And yeah, the choice of, just appreciating it a sip at a time. Well, because that is quite a strong flavor. I mean, that's got tequila. I think this one's been overpowered. The vermouth, the absinthe flavored vermouth, and the bitter aperitif Aperol I used are the stronger flavors. So it's a good one in moderation. I think I mentioned before the Irish comedian from Rubber Bandits, Blind Boy Boat Club, who has a very successful podcast, should have a new episode of the Blind Boy podcast tomorrow, actually. And he says he likes cocktails because he considers it a mindful form of drinking. Because if you're getting them out somewhere, you normally pay quite a lot for them. So you don't want to just scull it. So you tend to drink it in sips and really take it in. I know. Forget what I made. I made another one for the first time on the weekend, and it was quite strong. Like I gave Mrs. Angry a little taste, and she was like, "Oh my god, flip on." Like if I look through, I'm surprised at how good this is. This is just a free thing they had at Dan Murphy's. There's a couple I hadn't heard of. Going like I'm not a fan of like spritzers really. I think I made that one a hanky panky. The 20th century I like, and there are variants you can do of that one. I made the variant on one of the live streams. 20th century is a gin drink. It's got gin and Lillet Blanc, creme de cacao, lemon juice. And there's a few variants in my cocktail book that have tequila and absinthe in them. But this had one I hadn't heard of. The variants in my cocktail book of the 20th century is the 20th century, 21st century, and one called the 30th century. They have one in here called the 19th century, where you swap out the gin for bourbon, which I tried and I quite liked. Ms. Fox, you are right. This is basically a form of advertising from Dan Murphy's. Buy a bunch of our spirits so you can make the South Side. That's a good one. Mrs. Angry likes a South Side. She likes the gin one. That's gin, lime juice, sugar syrup, and mint leaves. Yeah, muddles. The White Lady. Mrs. Angry likes the White Lady. She's another gin one. That's with an orange liqueur. They say triple sec here, but it can be triple sec or Cointreau or something like that. And egg white, lemon juice. I like egg white cocktails. You shake them up, they get really frothy. Negroni's a really popular one that I don't like. It's a really bitter one. It's gin, a bitter orange aperitif, and vermouth. And they're very popular at the moment. I really don't like Negronis. Not into them at all. Oh, yes. Okay. Probably right up the top of my list is the whiskey sour, I always say. Nice simple one. Whiskey, you can use scotch or bourbon or rye, lemon juice, sugar syrup, and egg white. Yum. I love whiskey sour. This is one I was out with a friend we enjoyed, Sazerac, which is the big New Orleans cocktail, which is just rye, whiskey, absinthe, bitters, and a sweetener. Now, if you're being fancy, like they say, they use like a really either a sugar cube or really fine sugar, and do dashes of bitters on that, and crush it up and mix that in, and then add the bourbon, and then a splash of absinthe. Or the fancy ones, because it's only meant to be a little bit of absinthe, they either say you coat the glass with absinthe, like you put a little bit of absinthe in the glass, sort of swirl it around and tip out, and it's just what sticks up. Or if you have a mister, you put absinthe in and just a couple spritzes from a mister on top. It's really just an old-fashioned with a little bit of absinthe in it. And hello, Toronto Maple Leafer. Were you here when I made the Toronto cocktail? Or no, it was a Canadian-themed cocktail anyway. I'm now forgetting exactly what it was. But yeah, I'm not really into the tiki cocktails. I don't dislike tiki cocktails, but I'm not super into them. I guess a lot of my favorites are really conservative. Things like the Sidecar, the Whiskey Sour, the Sazerac, a Southside, 20th Century. I think my favorite cocktails would be regarded as quite traditional and even conservative. Ah, good. Toronto Maple Leaf. We did do the Toronto cocktail with you. Good, good, good. Glad to hear it. Doing well. How's everything in your part of the world? And do we owe your visit to Insomnia again? It's always funny to me when people join who are in really, I don't know what's the word, inhospitable, hostile time zones by comparison. Like I'm here in the evening, someone's going, oh yeah, it's 4 in the morning. And it's like, oh God, okay. It's like when I did the live stream a little while ago with Kevin Logan. Apparently he works a night shift, and so like 7 p.m. my time when it started was 8 a.m. his time. I think he got home from his night shift at about 5 a.m. So after his night shift, he'd been hanging around for a couple of hours waiting for me because it was a weekday, so I had to get home from work. And he was, I think he lasted about an hour and a half before he was just fading and had to go to bed. Marcy, 4:22 a.m. So that's what I thought. Yeah, North America. This is quite a hostile time zone for North America, really. South America too, I suppose, for that matter. I don't say no. That's not how time works. Time's not different in North America and South America. It's the East Coast and the West Coast have different times. Sometimes I wonder about me, quite honestly. But yes, and Kevin promised to come for an election live stream, which will be sometime in April or May. It hasn't been called yet. Ah, you're going to see Cat Empire, Toronto Maple Leafer. Yeah, they're good. They are very good live. I was, like as one of the streaming services. I actually have YouTube Music streaming service, and I picked one of their playlists rather than my own music. Oh yeah, do me like an indie themed playlist, and I was recognizing myself, and then one particular track came up, and I go, oh, I like this. What's this? Look, and it was a newer track from Cat Empire that I hadn't heard. So they're still doing good music, and they've always been good live for Cat Empire. So enjoy that. I agree, Mystery 09. The angry fans in other parts of the world who watch at really odd times. Luke, I heard there were a few negative stories after Mardi Gras in Sydney. I did hear one about an Uber driver being quite abusive. And I think there were 4 assaults. The police confirmed 4 sort of homophobic hate crime assaults after Mardi Gras, which shows we've still got a long way to go. Yeah, trying to make a new album last month. Yeah, I was really surprised. I was just like, oh, this is a cool track. What's this? And it was a new Cat Empire, and it was really good. It was really good. But I think there's a lot of good music around these days. Like if I'm in the car, I tend to have Triple J on the radio to try and hear new music. Yeah, now because I've got YouTube Premium, so I have their music service. I do a lot of their like pre-structured playlists. Every now and then I just randomly go, oh God, what's something I haven't listened to for a while? And I go, yeah, and I'll search and I'll find an album or two and listen, whether I go right back to like the 80s or 90s or something a bit more like I just remembered Revolting Cocks. I used to listen to them, what are they doing? And I think the last time they released an album was in about 2009. And so I listened to that, and that was kind of fun. Oh, yeah, Toronto Maple Leaf, Triple J, hardly flawless. But because pop music these days, indie pop is good. And a lot of really strong female artists, and which stuff I first discovered through Triple J. Listening, whether it's like, oh God, go through them. You get things like Tash Sultana, Alice the Astronaut, Amy Shark, try and think of a few others, but there's a lot on my playlist, and they're very good. I mean, I do like the playlists that I get off the YouTube music thing, like just say like, give me an indie playlist. Like, yeah, okay, they got the top of 2018. What's on there? Like, yeah, Amy Shark, Halsey, Billie Eilish. Billie Eilish has really gone for she's gone for the depressed emo teen market in a big way. I think. Marcy, my genre is the indie music, which tends to be a lot of things. There's a lot of really poppy stuff. Yeah, Billie Eilish has got some good stuff at the moment. Yeah, I don't mind the Rubens. Skeggs are okay. Florence and the Machine I like. Mumford & Sons are okay. Gorillaz, Muse, Lana Del Rey's okay. God, this is the same artists over and over. Bishop Briggs has some good stuff. Maggie Rogers has some good stuff. MGMT have some good stuff. Not really. Ocean Alley got the top song on the Hottest 100. I don't hate Ocean Alley. I'm not really into them though. Tash Sultana, I mentioned. Cosmo's Midnight are not bad. Young Blood, he's got some good ones. I really like Polygraph Eyes. Mallrat has some good stuff. G-Flip, a young Melbourne DJ, posted some stuff on Triple J Unearthed, and everything's gone through the stratosphere for her. But she's really good. Churches, I don't mind. D-Mays are okay. Mallrat, yeah. Hockey Dad, they're not bad. Matt Corby's okay. The 1975, yeah. Courtney Barnett, she's got some good stuff. I think there's just a lot of stuff that I'd call pop music and indie pop that's really good. Luke Morpher, Bedroom Philosopher, hasn't released anything for ages, has he? I almost got into a fight with him at a New Year's Eve party some years ago, 5, 6 years ago. It was a special sort of fancy dress New Year's Eve party that Amanda Palmer and Neil Gaiman were at. And although that was the point where I got into Amanda Palmer and what was her band called? Brain Go Blank, or band, there's one other person in it. Anyway, that was when I first really got into Amanda Palmer. But Neil Gaiman's my favourite author, and so I paid for VIP tickets to this New Year's Eve gig that they were special dressed in dolls. Thank you, Des Fertile. And I got VIP tickets. I got a little video on my YouTube video channel at the time of when I got to meet Neil Gaiman and Amanda Palmer was around the tour. But there was this couple, and I didn't realize at the time, I might have been a bit out of it because part of the VIP package was a free bottle of bubbly and whatnot. I might have had some more stuff too, and I was a bit out of it. But there was this dude who was talking to me, and I didn't twig at first. Eventually, I twigged because he wasn't really subtle. But he was much younger than me, and he was there with the girl who I assumed was his girlfriend, and he was clearly hitting on me. And I was going like, well, that's interesting. And because, you know, no harm, no foul, but I'm not into dudes. And so I was like, this is really interesting. This guy's really like making moves on me. This is pretty funny. And also because I'm in a relationship, so I wasn't interested in anyone making moves on me, but it was pretty funny. And he was like talking to me and I was watching the show, and Neil Gaiman was doing some stuff on stage. And because this guy was talking to me because he was hitting on me, so he wanted to talk all the time because he's trying to make moves on me. And then this dude goes, like I was saying something, oh yeah, I really like Neil Gaiman, and this guy next to us in this really aggro tone of voice went, but if you like him so much, why don't you stop talking? And I was like, and I recognized he was one of the bedroom philosopher was one of the performers on the night, and I recognized him, and I just thought, nah, fuck you, man. And I just went to town on him and went, hey, guess what? We're in a public fucking space and people can fucking talk if they want. And if you don't like it, you can fuck off, you fucking wanker. It's like, you're in a bar and someone's upset that you're talking. What the actual fuck? Marcy, you're into hip hop. Oh, my favorite. There are some real, and this might sound weird if you're not aware of it, but there are some very good Australian hip hop. I'm a big fan of the Hilltop Hoods, but there are a lot of other Australian hip hop artists. Hilltop Hoods just put out their first album in 5 years. Oh my God, the second single from it, Leave Me Lonely. I love it. I've not been into a track that much as I'm into Leave Me Lonely than I have been for ages. But oh my God, yeah, Australian hip hop acts. Hilltop Hoods, Briggs, AB Original, Draft, Fundamentals. There is a whole bunch of really good Aussie hip hop. Mr. Owen, you discovered Camouflage Rose with the track Late Night. Good. Yeah, that's right, Brett. Hilltop Hoods supported Eminem. Got to play to huge audiences. Yeah, Bliss and Essa are okay, Brett. No, Mr. 09. Hilltop Hoods are from Adelaide. They are not. I know we have a bad habit of adopting Kiwis and saying they're Australian, but Hilltop Hoods are from Adelaide. Yeah, Marcy, there will be Spotify playlists of Aussie hip hop. Give it a burl because there is some really good stuff. But yeah, the new Hilltop Hoods album, The Great Expanse, has got some really good tracks on it. But yeah, they've just released a third single. The first one, which was called Clark Griswold, the character from the Vacation movies, that was quite good. But I'm super into Leave Me Lonely because it's an angry song. It's about someone who's really obnoxious and they've got the shits with them. Okay, Belinda's saying Hilltop Hoods are from Brisbane, and I wouldn't swear on a stack of Bibles, but I thought they were from Adelaide. No, formed in 1994 in Blackwood, Adelaide. So I thought they were an Adelaide band. Did rap outfits, hip hop outfits call themselves bands? I'm an old person. I don't know. Mr. 09, Remy, you're saying, I think I've heard Remy's stuff. There's some of the, like, seriously, if you're from outside Australia, you can stream Triple J and you can get the Triple J app, the unearthed stuff they do. A competition, God, they must have started in the 90s. Triple J ran this thing they call the Unearthed competition. They say, hey, are you an unsigned band? Marcy, I think you're right. Hip hop crew, I think is what they tend to call themselves. Yeah, so Triple J Unearthed, they would say, like, are you an unsigned band? Submit your demo to us, and the best ones will get played on air, and the winner of the competition will get a track professionally recorded and whatnot. And then they started to localize it, like they'd go to regional areas and go, okay, we're going to this town. If you're from there, and then they set up a whole website and ultimately digital radio channel called Unearthed. And holy fuck, the talent in these unsigned acts. And I swear to God, in the last 2.5 decades that they've been doing Unearthed, Triple J must have launched, like, I don't know, 50 or more careers, 100 careers. And some of the music's so good. And more recently, they've been doing stuff purely for high schoolers. They're called Unearthed High. I don't know how many years they've been doing Unearthed High, but it's basically, okay, if you're a high school student who's in a band, or maybe you're doing solo stuff in your bedroom type stuff, submit your demo. The quality of the stuff, high school, and these are not just high schools, this is self-produced high schoolers. They're writing their own stuff and producing it. So most of them are like recording it in their fucking bedrooms, like, and mixing it on a computer. The degree of talent from high schoolers is absolutely mind-blowing. Like, an old man like me can be made to feel incredibly inadequate when I hear the quality of music being produced by 15-year-olds. It's like, oh my fucking God. But yeah, another thing that people really like on Triple J, on Saturday nights, they do non-stop dance music, like dance mix, like something like 6 hours of party music, dance music. So like there's a couple of different shows. The Mix Up is the longest running one, where they have guest DJs, and there'll be 2 or 3 DJs do sets for them. So they end up with 3 hours of DJ sets. And there's another, before Mix Up, there's another 3-hour show that's just like party music. It's pretty amazing. It's such a good resource. Yeah, if you're outside Australia, you can stream it online or get the Triple J the Triple J app or the Unearthed app. So much good music. It's amazing. Oh, Miss Fox question, you are right. The tools to create both music and video are a lot more accessible than when I were a youth. In fact, when I were a youth, they simply didn't exist. They weren't accessible at all. Justin, you were in an arts-focused school. Nice. That's the thing. I think mostly people just need the opportunity. The stuff that comes out of art-focused schools, or even like some TAFE type courses that do music and video stuff. Mr. and I, no, I don't listen to Joy FM because I don't think I get good reception for them. There's a couple of good community FM stations in Melbourne, but it's a real lottery if you get reception for them. I know Joy. I have listened to Joy. I think I've contributed to Joy. I'm not sure. That's because I have friends who have been DJs on Joy FM or have been guests on Joy FM. I have this weird feeling I contribute. Joy FM is Mystery 09. Joy FM's a gay station, isn't it? Is that, am I thinking of the right one? Promotes LGBTI agenda. Jordan, I'm going fairly well. Why do I like getting analysed by AngryAussie? That isn't a thing that happens. So, you know, I get that you're actually just projecting your insecurities on me. AngryAussie's happy just doing things with his boyfriend. So, yeah, it's okay. I get that you're just projecting your insecurities. That's not what that comment's not really about me. It's about you being frightened and insecure. So, you know, chin up, buddy. You know, work at it, and you might get your life together at some point. Yeah, Miss Foxification, I think you are right. I like that Toronto Maple Leafer. There was a concert, Big Chuck and Trailer Park Boys had come out to the gigs. Nice. Yeah, here's a bit of trivia. I was flicking around Netflix, and if you've, I don't even remember what it's called, but it's like whether it was a student film or just an indie film. It's kind of the pilot for Trailer Park Boys. It's the people who made Trailer Park Boys in this indie black and white film. It's about Jordan, what you are is boring, sad, insecure, and pathetic. You need to get your life sorted because taking out your sadness and frustration at other people won't help you at all and will just make you more sad and more full of self-loathing. So I get that this is just you acting out your feelings of inadequacy, but it's boring and no one wants to see it. So you need to get your shit sorted. But yes, there's a fun thing you can search for on Netflix, and I don't even remember what it's called. And I found it randomly because I watch a lot of comedy stuff on Netflix, and it's a 20-30 minute black and white indie film. Obviously they're very young in it, and it's done a couple years before Trailer Park Boys. Very interesting. I'm not saying it's a great film. It wasn't terrible. It was quite well known, but I didn't know it existed, and I was literally just sort of flicking through stuff on Netflix, and I saw it. I thought, oh, what's that? And it's an interesting relic. I had no idea that they worked together making an indie film before they did Trailer Park Boys. It was quite an interesting discovery. And I can't remember what it's called, so you got to go out and find it yourself. I mean, you'd probably find it just by okay, you get a certain amount of time to be boring, fucko, and then you go. That is a good line, Miss Foxification. Trolling's like crapping your pants. I'm sure everyone else has to smell it, but you're the one sitting in it. Oh, what other good things are there on Netflix? I really enjoyed Umbrella Academy. Did anyone else watch that? I quite enjoyed that. Yeah, and you're right, Musical Aviator. That was just a sock puppet account. I enjoyed Umbrella Academy. Oh, one that I didn't hear that many people talking about, but I did enjoy was the Titans series. It was like the gritty version of Teen Titans with Robin and Starfire and Beast Boy and what's the other one's name? But I really enjoyed it. Yeah, but it was almost a cliche with the dark, gritty stuff. But yeah, I actually enjoyed Titans. Oh yes, our Hellish Fires. They were in the bush area, sort of. It was like the northeast part of the state, and it was getting quite close to the outer suburbs of Melbourne. But yeah, we had a 4-day heat wave, 4 days, 35 Celsius plus, hot, dry winds. And it started off, by the second day, there was like 6 different fires. By the third day, the fires seemed to have all joined up. And the fourth day which was Sunday, was very bad for the firefighters. And I think it's more or less under control. Yeah, Musical Aviator was out past Pakenham, but by Sunday, it was getting quite close to Pakenham. I went for a bit of a walk with Mrs. Angry on Sunday evening, and we could actually smell the smoke. It was a long way away, but it had been burning for so many days, we could actually smell the smoke. Thankfully, I think compared to some of our other fires, not that big a property damage and loss of life. Yes, Marcy, it is really weird when people are somewhere and it's the middle of winter and there's snow. How could there be climate change or global warming when it's cold here? And to be fair, they have a good point, because every single peer-reviewed science paper into climate change, in the lead-in, they say, oh, if it's ever cold anywhere, even in the middle of winter, even at the North Pole, that means global warming's not real, so we're sorry. But it's like, yeah. Oh, yeah, Luke, you saw there's still smoke around Bairnsdale. Smoke is going to hang around for a while. That's 4 days of burning. That is a fuck ton of smoke. Yes. But, yes, extreme weather conditions, the new normal. Took till right at the end of summer for us to cop it here in Melbourne. Other parts of the country had some fucking brutal heat waves earlier in summer, which here in Melbourne we largely missed. It didn't really get it. But yeah, right at the end of summer we get a 4-day heat wave. It's like, Jesus. Yeah, Marcy, no, extreme weather is our new norm. Whether it's cold snaps, things like cyclones, heavy rain, flooding, or droughts, extreme heat, and fires. Yes, Music Aviator, the polar vortex, which keeps hitting the US, is actually a product of global warming. It's changing in the air currents. Yes. Toronto Maple Leaf is interesting with the climate change. Summer's definitely got hotter, and there are some more extreme cold events in winter. But on average, the winters are also warmer, and in a lot of ways, that's a big problem. That's, in a lot of ways, the warmer winters are a bigger problem than the super hot summers, because stuff that's meant to freeze doesn't freeze. And we could end up suffering. You don't notice it as much because it's still cold in winter, but it's a couple of degrees warmer than it should be, and that could end up having worse effects than the really hot summers. Yeah, you're right, Trump. I mean, you get more severe events, you get more severe cold snaps, the polar vortex, as they called it in the US. You get more severe weather events in winter. Yeah, and then we can just look forward to mass die-outs, food crops failing around the world, leading to hundreds of millions, if not billions, of refugees, and the resultant wars, and, you know, just the death of humanity. Mad Max is going to look like a positive frame of mind if we're not careful. Anyway, who knows? Maybe some fucking miracle will happen in the next 10 years and we'll actually take decisive action. It's depressing, but I mean, when I were young, we were paranoid about nuclear war. And we seem to have got past all the nuclear weapons are still out there. So fuck, you got India and Pakistan fighting, and they're both nuclear power. So fucking hell. Justin, that's another good parable. Rebuffing climate change by saying carbon dioxide is essential is like saying water is necessary, so drowning is good. Yes. Marcy, yeah, get rid of the orange dictator. I don't know. There's nothing about Trump makes any sense. People are always asking me, what do I think will happen? Will he get impeached? Will he face criminal charges? Will he lose the 2020 election? I don't know, because nothing about him makes sense. And very little about the world in general makes sense. So I have stopped trying to predict anything because it just seems like a mug's game to try and predict anything. So it's just like, no, just fuck it. Leave it. I have no idea. I have no idea. I agree with you, Mr. Anine. I'd like to see him get impeached and then face criminal proceedings and go to fucking jail. And Andy's cranes, like, what's half a dozen of his close associates have been convicted? I mean, surely his day's number. Man, I want someone like a lot of the speculation for a little while now has been Don Jr.'s days are numbered. I want to see that. I want to see that. I want to see Don Jr. go to jail. That'd be fucking hilarious. I would laugh so much. Luke, I understand the feeling, but yeah, assassination is counterproductive. See, I don't know. There's like, that was one of the things Cohen darkly hinted at in his testimony. He has a real concern if Trump is still in office in 2020 and runs for re-election and loses the election, Cohen has severe doubts that Trump would peacefully hand over power. Who the fuck knows? I mean, you're right, the House Democrats are definitely going to have lots of inquiries and lots of testimony and hearings and whatnot. What ends up happening, who knows? I see, Justin, you're saying Don may resign to save Don Jr. That won't save Don Jr. In fact, that exposed, there's a lot of people who think it's hard, if not impossible, to indict a sitting president, make them face charges. So if Trump resigned, he'd just be opening himself to charge. See, what happened with Nixon, which a lot of people forget, Nixon was never impeached and never faced any criminal charges. His problem was obstruction of justice and lying to an investigation. And when his closest advisors said, "You're fucking done. You are now going to be impeached and you will face criminal charges." Nixon actually resigned before any impeachment proceedings happened, so he couldn't be impeached. And then his vice president was made president, and his then President Ford pardoned Nixon from any charges. So a lot of people have said Trump maybe thinks Pence would pardon him, but I honestly think Pence despises Trump. Pence, being a hardcore Pentecostal Christian, he knows Trump is basically fucking Satan. He's perfectly happy to use Trump to achieve his political ends, and Trump is giving him free rein to do all the shit that he wants. But I honestly think if Trump thinks Pence would pardon him if Trump resigned, Trump may well be fooling himself there. YouTube. Yes, I've heard that one. Trump taking over after Obama, orange is the new black. I do like that. Mr. Anna, I'll tell you what I'll say about Clinton, and this is a thing Trump has basically woken me up to. I think I gave, and everyone gave Clinton too much of a free ride. Okay, Clinton didn't actually break any laws with his affair with Monica Lewinsky. It wasn't coercive, but it was a disgusting abuse of power. Lewinsky was an active participant in it, but I just thought about it. Okay, if Trump did that, if we now knew Trump had an affair with an intern in the Oval Office, how would I feel about that? I would be disgusted. Like I always thought Clinton abused his power and shouldn't have done it, and it shows he's a pretty creepy person. But you know, so what? Adults making informed choices and all that. It wasn't coercive. But if I put my head into the space of how would I feel if Trump did it, I'd be utterly disgusted. And I thought, yeah, I feel like I gave Clinton too much of a free run. What Clinton did was a really gross abuse of power. And I mean that in multiple senses of the word, in that it was an extreme abuse of power, and it was also an icky, creepy abuse of power. Yeah, he was a very flawed person, Bill Clinton. It was the same thing. Like the Republicans launched impeachment proceedings against him because he lied. But this is the thing, and I had this discussion earlier in this stream. The Republicans, right-wingers generally, they do all this big huffing and puffing about shit they don't actually care about. The Republicans did not actually care about Clinton having an affair. It was just political point scoring. And all their bullshit and their bloviating, their carrying on is just shit they don't care about. They're horrible, cynical abusers of the system. Actually, Justin, I reckon you're on the money there. I'd put Clinton hand in hand with Barnaby Joyce, except Barnaby Joyce was also really corrupt in giving his mistress cushy government jobs. But yeah, Barnaby Joyce in Australia banging and impregnating one of his staffers, that was a gross abuse of his position. It wasn't criminal. It was a sort of, you know, mutually agreed action, but it was a gross abuse of his office, and he should be ashamed. And yeah, Bill Clinton should be completely fucking ashamed of his behaviour. It was gross. Oh God, Marcy, the actual details. If people want to get really into the details about Clinton and Lewinsky, it's definitely icky. I saw a doco years ago, and it was a doco that was made by Republican operatives, and it was a bit of a hatchet job on Bill Clinton, and it was all about the Lewinsky affair. And it's like, okay, they didn't say much that was untrue. It's just the presentation was quite biased. But they had interviews with George Bush Sr., and he did it. He said something really telling, that he thinks the Republican Party should have gone harder on the character issue for Bill Clinton. Because how Bill Clinton won the election against Bush Sr. was basically not making it about personalities. Famously, his war room had just written on a blackboard, "It's the economy, stupid," because the economy was in trouble. And Clinton's whole campaign for his first election was what we're going to do to fix the economy. So their central thing saying it's the economy, stupid, no matter what question you were asked, go, that doesn't matter as much as the economy. And drilling that in was one of the major reasons Clinton was elected. And hearing Bush Sr. saying, we should have gone harder on the character issue. And that's what the Republicans have done ever since. They've obsessed about inconsequential shit that they don't actually care about. But they whip the public up. They say shit that they don't believe. They say something's a big deal when they don't even care about it, to whip the public up. And it's just fucked up, quite honestly. Whew, that was a fun thing to end on, wasn't it? Oh, well, I've got some movies to, not tonight. Really, I've got some movies to watch there on Foxtel stuff that's recently been released onto digital. I'm going to rewatch Solo, the Star Wars movie, Solo. Because I did watch it in the cinema and enjoyed it, but I definitely want to rewatch it because it failed pretty badly, which was quite interesting. I think their biggest mistake was when they released it myself, but I want to rewatch it and see what it's like. There's a sort of genre sci-fi one made by Lee Wannell, Aussie guy, called Upgrade, which I really want to see. And what was the other one? Oh, the horror movie that has the Aussie actor called, the movie's called Hereditary. It's got, what's her name? She's so good. She's been in so much stuff. Can't remember. But anyway, so there's a few movies I want to watch. Big question, Luke, what's my next movie going to be? Don't know. I will see if I can get myself organised enough to do a Wank of Hat Wednesday or a What the Fuck Wednesday. If you follow me on the socials, or if you don't follow me on the socials, you should. But feel free to send me suggestions. I'll see if I can get my shit together to make a video tomorrow, and if not, do a live stream on Thursday. But yes, definitely send me suggestions on Twitter or Facebook or YouTube for that matter. On what to do a video on tomorrow. I'm going to go to bed now. So look after your fine selves. Thank you, as per usual, for spending some time with me. Been very enjoyable, as it always is. So I hope you all take care of yourselves. I hope to see you all again soon. But I will, for now, say bye for now.